So today we're going to be talking about who are your relationship models and why even have relationship models. I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly. I'm a relationship artist, and I help busy creatives and entrepreneurs get as excited about their relationship as they are about their work. Why? Because their relationships through working with me become more sustaining, more fulfilling, more true, more aligned, and it actually nourishes you. So as you begin to look at relationship as not only just a default thing that you do, this is what you do, you get married, you have kids, whatever your version of that is. Maybe it's not to get married, maybe it's to be in partnership with one or multiple people. To move from defaulting to habitual patterns, it helps to have a relationship role model. So the first place to look is right around you. Does anyone in your family or surrounding friends have a relationship that you think is great, that feels good to you, that inspires you, that gives you hope that relationships are possible and can even be a source of joy and pleasure? It doesn't always seem that way, does it? So step number one is look right around you. Step number two, look farther afield. There are plenty of people these days being open about their relationships online, whether it's celebrities or friends on social media or articles, podcasts. There's so many places to go to find out more about how other folks are doing relationship. So we live in a time with way more choice and variety than we've ever had before. So there's a real opportunity here to design something that suits you and really fits you. And if you don't know what that is yet, go start looking for role models. I wanted to talk today about one of my relationship role models, which is Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's relationship. And they're very open about the struggles that they've been through and types of changes they've navigated in their relationship, both through the Red Table series, which I highly recommend on Facebook. And go find the 2 episodes where Jada and Will talked about their relationship. It was a really in-depth conversation. So why are they a role model for me? Number one, they approach their relationship as a path of personal and spiritual growth, which is true for me too. Patrick and I do that. Number two, they are really open about that their relationship has gone through ups and downs, and they're committed to staying with each other as partners, even as their relationship structures change from time to time. Now, I don't know a lot about the ins and outs of their actual relationship structure. I understand that they have opened it at some point. I don't know if they're open or they're closed right now, but what is a role model for me about their connection is when Jada felt constricted and stuck in the wife box, which I have certainly felt constricted and stuck in before myself. She went inward deeply and inquired into what's true for her and what her actual desires are, and where was it that she wasn't showing up, and where was it that she was defaulting to a kind of rejection of Will's natural enthusiasm. He's kind of a Tigger on a planet of people who are not always that enthusiastic. Now, I can be kind of a Tigger too. So I take inspiration from Will also in his generous love. He just has this kind of generous, overflowing love, which to Jada could sometimes feel like too much. And instead of just making him wrong for that, she did the work to get clear on what she really needed and learned how to ask for what she really needed. So that's also inspiring to me, is how important it is for each partner to learn to calibrate to the relationship, to what the third, which is what I call the relationship that exists between them. It kind of becomes its own entity in a certain way within the relationship. So something that Patrick and I will do is we'll ask ourselves, does this benefit the union? Is what I'm about to do or say good for the union or harmful to the union? And I get the impression that that Jada and Will have learned to ask themselves something similar, even if that's not the language they actually use. They're also a role model for me because they're very open about their relationship in the same way that I strive to be open about my relationship. If someone asks me about it, I talk about it. There's very little that I keep hidden. And I think that's a huge value in today's world where we have not all learned how to approach relationships in a conscious and healthy way. There's so much that we keep hidden, and then we suffer behind these closed doors thinking we're the only ones going through this challenging experience. And by being open about it, both the ups and the downs, I think it gives permission to more people to acknowledge that what they're doing isn't working for them and that they want to actually work on changing it. But without people who have a lot of influence in the way that Jada and Will have influence because they're famous, as more and more people with that level of influence open up and talk openly about their relationship, it really gives permission. And because they're so visible, a lot of people see that and begin to perhaps question, oh, I thought I had to do it this way. I thought monogamy was the only way, or I thought feeling stuck in the wife box and letting him run the show all the time, I thought that was my only option. So by seeking out relationship role models who are approaching a relationship in the way that feels right to you, that's the first step to giving yourself permission to do it too. This is why that matters. This is why I think it's necessary to look for role models, because relationships are something that has been so default for so long with so little training. We somehow think we're supposed to know how to relate to each other because we're human beings and because we relate, forgetting that most of us didn't grow up with perfect parents, that our parents' relationship wasn't perfect. It was likely messed up in some significant way, if not multiple ways, because we're human beings and we're imperfect beings. So this is part of why I'm doing this weekly series, is to start giving you tools to learn how to do relationship more consciously and in a way that's aligned with you. My relationship's not going to look like your relationship. Your sister's relationship is not going to look like your relationship. I mean, in a perfect world, each of us creates the relationship that suits us and our partner or multiple partners. So let me know how this lands with you. And below, I'm going to put a link to my freebie, which is 3 blocks to having the relationship you want. In this guide, I lay out 3 typical but unexpected blocks that get in the way of having the relationship you want. So part of the work is removing blocks, and then part of it is actually actively looking at what you want to create and then creating that. Great talking with you today. I'll see you next week.